Welcome to Cosmic Hypothesis, a channel where you'll not only find thrilling cosmic stories, but also uncover secrets, truths, and sometimes cosmic jokes that will make you laugh out loud. If you love adventurous tales, alien encounters, and unexpected twists, then you're in the right place. Here, we don't just tell stories, we make you feel like you're living inside them. So, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and join us on this cosmic adventure. We promise there'll be surprises, and yes, laugh out loud moments too. Imagine a vast universe where powerful alien civilizations soar across the stars in colossal ships, each species with its own color, its own character. Among them stands the Galactic Alliance, the most powerful multi-species coalition in the galaxy, commanding hundreds of thousands of fleets and millions of warriors, now facing a decision that could forever alter the balance of power. And that order is invade Earth, a small blue planet tucked away in a system with a vague name, the Solar System. To the Alliance, it's nothing more than a mud rock, an underdeveloped pre-FTL civilization, lacking faster than light travel, completely incapable of resistance. To most, it's an obvious victory, a gift ripe for the taking by anyone looking to expand their territory. But Captain Zarek Voss, commander of Fleet 17, also known as the Unstoppable Wrath, doesn't see it that way. Seated in the command chair of his massive warship, the Eternal Darkness, Zarek stared intently at the tactical display, where Earth shimmered like a faint sapphire jewel against the black ocean of space. His fingers traced his shimmering green beard as a sharp, cold gleam flickered in his eyes. They say it's just a mud rock, not worth the concern. A young civilization, defenseless, Zarek said, his voice dripping with sarcasm, echoing through the ship's broadcast system. He turned to Admiral Kale Vox, standing behind him with a rigid posture, polished armor gleaming, and eyes brimming with confidence. So tell me, Kale, why does no one speak of the empire that once tried to cleanse this planet and vanished without a trace? The Admiral's brow furrowed. He replied curtly, "That's ancient history, Captain. We are the Galactic Alliance. We do not fail." Zarek let out a dry, biting laugh. You see, those who never fail are often those who haven't yet met the right enemy. Earth isn't some lonely island waiting to be taken, Kale. Let me tell you about the Dreer Empire and how they were erased in a fury no one dares to name anymore. The atmosphere on the bridge grew tense, heavy with silence. The crew, composed of multiple species, held their breath. Zarek tapped a button on the control panel. Instantly, a series of images appeared. Dreer warships torn apart, scenes of brutal battles, and most chilling of all, Dreer soldiers under assault not just by weapons, but by something far worse: the savagery of humankind. You see, Zarek continued, his voice dropping, they didn't just fight with guns or advanced tech. Humans, they know how to terrify their enemies with psychological warfare, raw brutality, and even eating their foes. Some among the crew visibly shuddered. Admiral Kale Vox stood quiet for a long moment, his once confident gaze now shadowed with unease. Captain, if what you say is true, then this invasion, could it be a fatal mistake? Zarek gave a faint smile, his eyes glowing with an unreadable fire. Not just a mistake, Kale. This is a war we aren't ready for. And if we charge in like arrogant conquerors, we won't be the ones left to tell the tale. So now the question looms. Will the Galactic Alliance stick to its imperial traditions or embrace a new, desperate, and perhaps hopeful path for survival? Earth, a tiny planet with the power to shake the entire universe, awaits its first invaders. But this encounter will be unlike any contact the stars have ever witnessed. The command bridge of the warship Eternal Darkness was bathed in the glow of tactical screens, casting flickering lights across the tense, doubtful faces of the multi-species crew. Amid the heavy silence, Captain Zarek Voss stood tall, his gaze as sharp as a blade, staring directly into the eyes of Admiral Kale Vox. You think conquering a planet technologically inferior to us will be easy? Zarek began, his voice laced with sarcasm yet deadly serious. The Dreer Empire thought the same over 2-0 Galactic Standard years ago when they invaded Earth. They believed it would take only weeks. The result? Well, no one lived to tell that story. Admiral Kale, still unable to mask his skepticism, replied coldly, "The past cannot dictate the present, Captain. We are the Galactic Alliance, the supreme power in this galaxy. No civilization can stand against us." Zarek gave a bitter smile before letting out a harsh, hollow laugh, a sound woven from mockery and despair. "Ah, that foolish confidence. Do you know why the Dreer vanished? It wasn't their weapons. It wasn't their numbers. It was humans." He tapped a button on the control console. A series of horrifying images appeared. Dreer ships torn apart, warriors ambushed and slaughtered not just with technology, but with raw savagery. The footage showed humans small in form, but burning with a will to survive, fighting with unmatched fury, and then eating their enemies. The crew shifted uncomfortably. Some recoiled in horror. One junior officer whispered, "They ate their enemies? Is that even possible?" Zarek responded gravely, "Not only is it possible, they used it. Psychological warfare at its most brutal. They broadcast images of themselves devouring their foes across every frequency, striking terror and chaos into enemy ranks. It was a war of minds and cruelty." Kale exhaled sharply, the certainty fading from his eyes. If that's true, then the invasion plan might be a catastrophe. Zarek stepped closer, eyes burning with conviction. "Not just a catastrophe, Kale. If we don't rethink our approach, the Alliance will vanish just like the Dreer. This is no ordinary war. This is a conflict we're not prepared for. And I refuse to let us become the universe's next cosmic joke." Silence fell again across the bridge. The crew exchanged glances, each too afraid to voice what they were all beginning to think. Zarek gazed out the viewport, where Earth hovered a lonely sapphire drifting in the endless star ocean. "We stand on the edge of a destined clash," he whispered. "And if we're not careful, we'll be the first to fall to a species the galaxy never thought to fear." He turned back with firm eyes. "Get ready, Kyle. We'll need a different plan, one no one dares to imagine." In a quiet corner of the bridge, a group of young officers known unofficially as the Space Sharks whispered among themselves. "Surrender? Has the captain lost his mind? We came here to fight," Zarek murmured under his breath. "They have no idea what kind of madness humanity truly is." The atmosphere aboard the warship Eternal Darkness was still heavy with pressure, but now tinged with a new undercurrent, one part tension, one part subtle amusement. Captain Zarek Voss stood at the center of the control chamber, eyes sharp as a blade, his voice calm yet filled with unwavering conviction. He knew that without change, the Galactic Alliance might never return home. "We can't keep following tradition," Zarek began. "Storming planets with brute force and leaving behind rubble and corpses. Earth isn't a simple battlefield. It's a maze of traps, and one wrong step, we'll never escape." The officers on the bridge turned their eyes toward him. Some nodded in agreement, others frowned in confusion. "So what exactly are you proposing, Captain?" Admiral Kale Vox interjected, his voice still skeptical but notably softer. Zarek smiled not with joy, but like a man holding a dangerous secret. "We're going to surrender, but a false surrender." The room went silent. A few chuckles and whispers followed. "Surrender? We're the Galactic Alliance. How can we surrender?" Zarek remained composed. "That's the beauty of it. We'll make them believe we've surrendered. We'll approach Earth as the defeated requesting asylum, protection, and cooperation. But in truth, it's our opportunity to observe, to learn, and to uncover humanity's weaknesses, if they even have any." A young crew member raised a concern. "But Captain, what if they find out? Humans aren't stupid." Zarek nodded thoughtfully. "Exactly. They're smart enough to suspect us right away. But here's the twist. It doesn't matter. Humans have this thing called plausible deniability. They'll pretend to trust us because it benefits them. They like feeling superior. They love having someone beneath them. Most of all, they hunger for technology. And we have plenty." He swept his gaze across the crew, his tone turning persuasive and oddly gentle. Imagine us handing over secrets about FTL drives, energy weapons, cloning technology. They'll welcome us as honored guests, give us everything we need to survive and thrive, while reverse engineering our tech at breakneck speed. A quiet laugh broke out from the communications officer. "Captain, I think we're more likely to be experimented on than embraced." Zarek nodded, a playful glint in his eye. "Exactly. They won't just fight us with weapons, they'll outthink us. Prepare yourselves for interrogations and parties that might make us feel very special. But trust me, this is the only path to survival." The briefing ended on a strange mix of anxiety and cautious optimism, with sprinkles of humor as the crew began imagining awkward and bizarre encounters with humans, creatures as friendly as they were terrifying, as insane as they were brilliant. Zarek exited the chamber, staring out at the infinite cosmos, where Earth was beginning to gleam like a vivid green-blue gem. He understood this wasn't a war of weapons, but a grand theater of minds, deception, and high-stakes gambles. Above all else, it was about survival of the Galactic Alliance, or its total extinction. "Prepare the false surrender," he murmured. "The game is on, and no one can predict how it will end." Just as preparations for the final phase of the plan were being completed, an unexpected signal cut through the ship's comms system. A voice, warm, friendly, and even a bit cheerful, echoed across space. "Welcome, visitors from the stars. We've been waiting for you." Zarek and the crew exchanged glances, their eyes lit with shock and challenge. The real encounter had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. As the eternal darkness descended slowly through Earth's atmosphere, an unforgettable scene unfolded before the crew's eyes. There were no ruined battlefields or explosions lighting up the skies. Instead, oceans of people gathered along the coastline. Banners fluttered like waves, and orchestras filled the open air with grand melodies. Earth, once deemed young and weak, was now hosting a grand celebration for its visitors from the stars. The crew exchanged glances, unable to hide their mix of awe and confusion. Zarek and Voss, a man who had witnessed countless wars, gave a dry chuckle. "Well, this feels more like a victory parade than a first contact." They were greeted by a distinguished delegation, led by Dr. Alara Quinn, a woman with piercing eyes, a mysterious smile, and the calm authority of someone who always knew more than she let on. She stepped forward with a warm, commanding grace. "Welcome to Earth," she said in fluent galactic standard, thanks to auto-translators embedded in the crew's equipment. "We've been expecting you for quite some time." Zarek sensed something deeper than mere hospitality. "You already knew about us?" he asked, eyes narrowing. Ilara's smile widened. "We monitor planets across the galaxy, Captain. You're not as invisible as you think. Transmissions, intercepted conversations, even internal reports. They find their way to us. Especially your logs, Captain Zarek. Quite entertaining, I must say. Who knew a galactic war commander had such a talent for storytelling?" Laughter erupted across the crew, the tension momentarily disarmed. But the surprises had only just begun. Ilara guided them through a series of dazzling structures, each more advanced than the last. Holograms lined the halls, chronicling Earth's technological journey from the first radio signals to breakthroughs in AI, nanotech, and limitless energy sources. The Galactic Alliance's tools now looked like children's toys in comparison. "We cracked FTL tech over 50 years ago," Alara revealed, her eyes glinting with quiet pride. "But to maintain societal stability and avoid drawing premature attention from galactic powers, we kept it secret. We pretended to be young, a harmless backwater world." Zarek stared in disbelief. "So, everything we thought we knew about humanity was just an act?" Ilara nodded gently. "Exactly. We enjoy surprises. And now, you're among the first to witness the truth." It was a stunning blow. The crew, once full of arrogance, now found themselves humbled, even outmaneuvered by the very beings they had dismissed as primitive. These small, chaotic creatures had not only survived, they had thrived in secret. The tone grew more serious as Alara gestured toward a small, cube-shaped object displayed on a pedestal. "This is the plot device," she said, "a device capable of performing feats that most civilizations only dream of faster. Then, light communication, universal translation, even manipulation of certain physical laws. It's our greatest secret, and the reason we stand here today." Zarek locked eyes with the cube, his mind swirling with awe and curiosity. He thought of all the weapons, tactics, and strategies he had used over the years, and wondered if pure intellect and creativity might be the most powerful force of all. Before them stretched a new future, one where assumptions would be shattered, and the old balance of power was already shifting. Whatever came next, Zarek understood one thing with perfect clarity. From this moment forward, the Galactic Alliance would no longer stand unchallenged. As preparations continued for their diplomatic integration, a sudden transmission crackled through the ship's comms. A cheerful, unmistakably human voice cut through the static. "Welcome, visitors from the stars. We've been waiting for you." Zarek and the crew turned to one another, their eyes gleaming with surprise and anticipation. The real encounter had just begun, and the galaxy had never been so alive. As the radiant lights of the futuristic city slowly faded into the cosmic night, the once feared warship Eternal Darkness was no longer seen as an invader. It had become an honored guest at the most spectacular galactic celebration in recorded history. The sharp, calculating stares and battle-hardened minds of the Galactic Alliance began to give way to wonder, to awe, and to something they had never anticipated: admiration. Humanity, it turned out, had no intention of ruling the stars with brute force. Instead, they chose an entirely different path, one of soft dominion, a clever fusion of culture, technology, and intellectual power. It wasn't domination through conquest. It was influence by invitation. Dr. Alara Quinn, leader of Earth's diplomatic team, had no hesitation in unveiling this approach to Zarek and his officers. "We don't want bloody wars," she said, her voice warm and steady. "We want to build an interstellar community, one where creativity and knowledge are the currency of survival." The atmosphere shifted as Ilara guided Zarek through multi-dimensional art galleries, cutting-edge tech showcases, and fusion halls where science and culture danced like starlight. In every corridor, every holographic projection, it became clear: all species were welcome, but humanity sat at the center. Not by force, but through connection, curation, and collaboration. Zarek was struck silent as massive displays showed alien representatives joining Earth-led initiatives, from renewable energy platforms to AI development programs. Humanity wasn't just participating, they were leading. "They've turned revolutions into celebrations," Zarek muttered with an astonished grin. But what truly chilled him was Ilara's quiet confession about a silent revolution. It was how humanity didn't just integrate with civilizations, they made themselves indispensable. Not through demands, but by making others willingly align with them out of mutual gain. "We don't conquer with swords and guns," Ilara explained. "We conquer with ideas, with culture, by making others realize they can't live without us." Zarek felt a cold realization. The Galactic Alliance had entered a battlefield they never prepared for, one of persuasion, of delicate diplomacy, of influence so subtle it felt like seduction. And most alien species couldn't even perceive the war. As the celebration stretched into the deep night, alien crew members who had once clung tightly to suspicion began laughing, dancing, and speaking openly with the humans. The barriers fell not with weapons, but with music, curiosity, and shared joy. A young Alliance officer, once wary and silent, whispered aloud, "We came here to conquer, but maybe we're the ones being conquered." Zarek gazed into the starlit skyline, where Earth's lights shimmered like a festival that would never end, and in that moment, he understood something profound. Domination doesn't always wear armor. Sometimes, it wears a smile, plays a song, and offers you a seat at the table. Wisdom, connection, and just a little madness could indeed shape the course of history. Brilliant light, from Earth's cosmic metropolis, shimmered across the docked vessels of the Galactic Alliance ships once designed for conquest, now appearing more like honored guests attending the grandest celebration in galactic history. Aboard the Eternal Darkness, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation and a strange sense of wonder. The crew understood this was no longer a mere first contact mission. They had stepped into a new era, one where every definition of power, civilization, and dominance would be rewritten. On the stage of the First Interstellar Congress, Captain Zarek and Voss stood before thousands of delegates representing civilizations from across the stars. Every eye was fixed on him. His voice echoed through the hall's vast sound system. "I stand here today not as a conqueror and not as one who has been conquered. I stand here as a friend to humanity, and to all who are ready to embark on the greatest adventure this galaxy has ever known." The hall fell into a hushed silence. Some watched with astonishment, others with caution, but none could deny the sincerity and strength in his words. Zarek continued, emphasizing that the meeting between the Galactic Alliance and Earth was not the end of a potential war, but the beginning of something far greater. A journey founded on creativity, collaboration, and a touch of strategic madness. Back aboard the Eternal Darkness, his crew watched the broadcast with swelling pride. Earth's ingenuity and spirit were shaking the foundations of the galaxy itself. They were starting to realize that true power wasn't forged in steel or fire, but in the ability to change minds, shift paradigms, and invite others to grow alongside you. Dr. Alara Quinn, standing beside Zarek on stage, looked out at the gathering with a proud smile. "We didn't come here to conquer. We came to make friends, to learn, and to create a future together." And then, the music began, a melody from Earth, a harmonic blend of cultures, races, and souls, interwoven with starlight in a cosmic celebration that could never be forgotten. Laughter echoed through the halls. Hands reached across galaxies. Hugs were exchanged. And even Earth's quirky humor began to shine. Before fully stepping into this new era, Zarek couldn't help but share one final story, a trademark closer from his infamous logs. "Whatever you do, never eat anything a Floridian offers you. Trust me, that's not a joke, that's survival advice." Laughter erupted throughout the Congress, but beneath the humor lay a deeper message. This new age would not be easy, but if we could learn to laugh, learn, and lead together, then the galaxy could become a playground for creativity, compassion, and collaborative chaos. As the ships prepared to depart Earth's orbit, a transmission rippled across the stars. "Earth is open. All civilizations are welcome. The party has begun, and everyone's invited." And so began the new era, not forged by fire, but by friendship. Not with dominance, but with dance. Not through force, but through the unstoppable, chaotic brilliance of being human. Thanks for joining us on this bizarre extraterrestrial adventure. If you haven't already been sucked into the black hole of cosmic curiosity, drop a comment below and tell us what you think about humanity. Are we the galaxy's next superhero, or an interstellar horror story wrapped in a party? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next wild tale. Who knows? Next time, you might return as the Galactic Alliance's newest ambassador, or a VIP guest at an alien banquet. And remember, if someone offers you a Florida delicacy, think twice. Trust me, it's not advice. It's a survival protocol. Catch you in the next adventure. Stay weird, stay curious,